Hi guys, my name's Doug. Welcome to my messy garage. In today's video we're going to be looking at the lower unit for my 120 horse force outboard on Project Pontoon boat. Unfortunately there should be a shaft sticking up out of here, as I showed in the last video. That this bearing here appears to have piled up on me and the shaft is sheared off. Down inside the lower unit, you can just kind of make out the pinion gear and the nut that's on the bottom. And what we need to try and do to see whether we can salvage this lower unit, or if I've got to get another one, is to try and get that pinion gear out of there. If that comes out, the remainder of the shaft should be able to come up from the top out through here, and then we can get a replacement shaft and get this unit put back together. That repair, yeah, going to be a couple $100. I've already got a water pump to go into this. Well, we'll put a new water pump into whatever lower unit we end up with. And if I cannot get this apart, or cannot get this apart easily, there are options available. I've found several of these lower units for sale on eBay. Trouble is, they're creeping up on $1,000 by the time the dust settles. And that's an awful lot of money to be putting into an older force outboard. Still, it's cheaper than replacing it. Probably looking in the $10,000 range to get something of a similar horsepower in a more modern four-stroke. So $1,000 into this one is a lot better than $10,000. Here we have the stub shaft that is supposed to be down in here. The flat is what engages in the water pump. There's a kind of a key that goes in here, turns the water pump. You can see the end of that has been a little on the warm side and is sheared off clean. I'm not sure, never really looked too much at other higher horsepower outboards, but you can see this has a shaft. The shaft that goes up into the bottom of the block fits into a coupler that is supposed to be on here. The way this is supposed to come apart is you take a coupler. This is just a common industrial coupler with the correct spline in it, and they weld a plate to the top of one of these, and then they put a big nut on the other side of the plate, and then you can grab onto that with a wrench or socket, and you stick a wrench in on the bottom of the pinion gear, and fairly easy to take apart. However, attaching a big wrench to this is going to do absolutely nothing for taking things apart. A couple of suggestions that I've had given to me are to weld a nut, large nut, into here. That's going to be a bit of a challenge. You can see that it is not broken flush with the top of the bearing. So we're ½ inch down inside the bearing, or 3/8 of an inch down inside of the bearing. So it is going to be a bit of a challenge to get a nut in there and then get a wrench or a socket down on that. That's a possible way of doing it. Another way that that has been suggested to me is to drill the shaft out and stick an easy out down in there. Something tells me that this is likely a hardened shaft of some sort, and I have a sneaking suspicion that drilling it is not going to be at all easy, if possible at all. So the first thing we need to do is establish whether this is hardened or not, and the best way to do that is just touch it with a file. A file here, and it doesn't appear to be hardened. The file is, I don't know whether that's showing up very well, but the file is able to bite into that shaft, so that likely means we can center punch that and try drilling it. Drilling this hole, we're going to start off with an 1/8 inch drill bit. When you're drilling holes in metal, it's always a good idea to start off with a small drill bit and then work up. That way you get a much better hole. This shaft does seem to be drilling fairly easily. Had a little trouble with the microphone here. The thing fell out of my pocket and landed on the floor. Doesn't do a very good job of recording audio when it's on the floor. So I guess we'll do this in voiceover. I've got a kit of easy outs that I got from Amazon. See a good size one that I'm going to use. Yeah, nice stout size. Shouldn't have to worry too much about it shearing off. I got a couple of different styles, but this is the one I ended up using. And I had to apply a little bit of heat to the pinion nut. The nut is held on with Loctite, so you got to heat up the Loctite, and also by expanding the nut a little bit, it makes it so it comes off easier. Now I've got a 1/2 inch socket extension, and I think it was a 9/16 wrench. Worked good to apply some pressure on there, and I got the breaker bar with a socket on it down on the pinion nut, and kind of just trying to break it free. It was being a little bit stubborn, but eventually it pops loose. Have to use the double wrench to break it free. Here, you can see it's starting to come. That Loctite sure takes a good hold. We are loose. Get the nut out. The washer. So you can kind of see the pinion gear down in there, and you can see the nice taper or splines and taper that we've got to get it off of. And it is being just a little bit difficult about coming out of there. So I might be able to get that to cooperate. If I can get something in there that I can pry against. Like a chunk of 2x4 or something like that might help. Just let me see what I can find. Well, I got a chunk of 2-inch square tubing. Let's see if that will help. Oh. Piece of cake! That came out easy. So, as you can see, we got some rather ugly stuff going on. It might help if I hold it in front of the focus. There we go. Bearing race has definitely seen better days. She's a little on the carrier. She's a little on the rusty side. I don't know if that's part of the bearing, or if that's one of those shims that we need to be worried about, so we will save that. And that pinion gear does not want to come out of there. Other than the grindies up, or the chewed up bearing at the top, the rest of this lower unit I'm pretty happy with. One thing I do need to make sure of is to compare without putting any measurements, or without putting any measuring tools on there. I'm reasonably happy with how that matches up. I think we'll say that that is a win. Pull this bearing out in the gear, give it a good look over, make sure there's a little bit of rust there, but it's not on a wear surface or anything, it's just well guys, I think we'll call this one torn apart. I'm going to end it here. Check back for the next part of this video where we do the reassembly with the new parts that I got in, or the well-used replacement parts that I got in. Thanks a lot for watching, appreciate it, and please remember to like, subscribe, and comment. Bye for now.
Sometimes and I can't seem to find a light between the walls I built for myself right in my mind. And then you came over and you showed me love that I never had seen before.